What is going on, everyone? Dr. Riley here with Origin Chiropractic. We are going to talk about illness tonight. I know I'm going to give it a minute for people to start getting on and checking us out, but I know that at least in our office, our patients, our clients, people around us, our friends, our family, everyone's getting sick. Everyone's talking about illness. Everyone's talking about flu season, right? And this is the time of year that the kids get sick. This is the time of the year that everybody starts getting ill and they're missing work and school and everything else. Now, tonight we're going to talk about some of the reasons that stuff happens during a particular time of the year, because as we all know, viruses like flu, coronaviruses, so the ones that cause cold and obviously COVID, as well as bacteria like streptococcus, which causes strep throat, and all these other things going on, they're present year-round. And we know that they're present year-round, so why does it seem like everyone seems to go down at the same time? Well, there's a couple different reasons for that. We're going to dive into that first, and then we're going to go into what we can be doing in our daily lives in order to keep ourselves healthy. I know everyone these days is pushing some sort of product or some sort of something that's going to make you healthy forever, right? But we're going to talk about things that we see some really, really great results with, and all of them are very easily accessible, and they're going to be really something that you can start immediately, something that you can ease your way into. You can choose some of them and not all of them, but I like to give them all because it's the stuff that we like to do inside of our house to try to stay well. But let's dive in. Let's start with this entire idea of flu season. Now, this flu season, as we all know, is in the late fall. It goes through the winter, and it usually works its way out by the end of spring, right? As things start to get nicer. Let's start talking about it. And as we do, it's really going to introduce some of these vitamins that we're going to go into much more depth about. Now, the first big myth about flu season is, flu's rampant, right? Everyone's got it. It's for whatever reason, flu is just stronger this time of year. Well, the viruses aren't stronger. Our bodies are weaker. Our bodies are designed very beautifully to handle illness, viruses, bacteria, and other invaders, to handle those and to defend ourselves from them. Now, when the body is overstressed, overworked, whenever it is not reinforced properly with nutrition, that's when we find ourselves susceptible to the symptoms and the actual, what we consider the disease, right? Because what we know as health practitioners, as chiropractors, we know that disease is just a term used to describe something that is giving you symptoms. And those symptoms can be happening for a lot of reasons, and many of them, especially fevers, which we're going to talk about tonight as well, are actually the body's natural response to the invader to make it stronger and easier to defend. So let's start with why it happens, right? So in the fall, what are the big things that happen? We have end of year deadlines. Adults, we're more stressed than ever. Kiddos, we're getting towards the end of the semester. We're burnt out from a full fall of school and tests and all this new stuff. The next thing is our days are getting shorter. We are spending less time in the sun. We are not getting outside as frequently because it's colder, because it's rainier, because there's just not as many reasons, if it's not nice and sunny outside, to be outdoors. And what that does is it takes this vital sunlight that actually helps our body create and synthesize vitamin D. And we're going to talk about vitamin D a lot here in a minute, but that's one of the big reasons. A lot of times we have our comfort foods, we have our holiday foods, so we're not really putting great nutrition into our bodies a lot of times. It's easy to slip and just hang out on the couch and watch a show and eat some junk, which is totally fine. Like, I get it. Like, I am more than happy to sit and enjoy an evening out, or enjoy an evening in, and enjoy those things. But we're doing it on a more consistent basis. A lot of times we're pushing off our New Year's goals as far as exercise to January. So maybe we're skipping out on the gym more. We're not getting mobile. And these things lead to this perfect environment for these viruses to really take hold in us. Now, as other people start to get sick, we are around higher concentrations of these viruses. But at the end of the day, the truth still remains that our immune system is designed to protect us. And it can't always be running at 100%, so we will succumb to illness at times. So what can we do to support it when we're not sick to keep us from getting sick as frequently? So we're going to talk about that first. And some of my favorite supplements, and all of these are very easily accessible. You can find them at your local grocery stores and all of those things. But I like to really dive into them. And as we go through them, we're going to talk about what type of supplementation we need for everyday life. And then we're going to talk about what type of supplementation is great for when we're really feeling sick and what we can be doing in order to help our bodies and support them through that healing process. So the big ones for me, vitamin C, and these aren't new, guys. Lots of people talk about this stuff, but vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. Now, these three nutrients are so important for the way that our immune system functions, that the more studies they run on, the more intricate they find that these are involved in those processes. Now, each one of these are also involved in several other processes. We'll touch on those very briefly. But those are our three supplements. But then these other things are just as important, if not more important. Guys, we got to be moving. We got to get outside. So we need exercise. We need time outside if we can get it. I know with nasty weather, it's hard to get out there, but then you need to be exercising somewhere in some way. We need to be moving. We got to keep our bodies active. So obviously we said sunshine and fresh air. We need to be hydrated. We need to be drinking water. Our cells really struggle to stay healthy when they're not in proper balance with hydration. That means making sure that, one, you're drinking plenty of water, but also making sure that you're taking in electrolytes in a really healthy form in order to support that as well. Now, on top of that, I love to take elderberry syrup. Now, you can do this preventatively. You can take whatever it says on the bottle, usually a tablespoon a day, just to prevent illness. Now, what is elderberry syrup going to do for you? It's got tons of vitamin C, and it's got tons of antioxidants. And antioxidants are designed to protect your cells from what we call free radicals. Now, I don't want to go super in depth into this, but what they do is they bind and they just protect that cell from damage. Now, so we'll jump into some elderberry syrup again in a minute, because you can up that dose, obviously, whenever you're ill. That's when I use it the most, because I just feel like it helps me kick those colds, the flus, whatever's going on with me, really kick it out a lot faster. Now, let's talk about chiropractic care, right? Obviously, we're going to dive into that, and we'll get really deep into it towards the end, but making sure that your nervous system, right, your brain, your spinal cord, the nerves that go out, that actually control your immune system. Just let that set for a second. It controls and guides your immune system during any type of invasion from a virus or a bacteria. I always think of our immune system as our brain as this head general. Right? They're the head general that is going to lead the troops. They're going to tell all the way down to the very individual troops exactly where to go in order to be successful. So you really want that thing functioning at maximum capacity. And anytime you have interference in and throughout that nervous system, it is going to make it that much harder for your body to defend itself. So I always like to start with a clean and clear nervous system. That's why my wife, my kiddos, as many of my friends and family that I can get my hands on, they get adjusted as frequently as possible. Now, let's go into some of the dosages and what these vitamins actually do. I like to start with vitamin C. Vitamin C is fantastic. So inside the body, it helps with growth, development, and repair. I mean, those sound pretty important, right? Growth, development, repair. I mean, that's like the basis of healing right there. But it also helps with the formation of collagen. It helps with the absorption of iron, which is one of our most important nutrients as well. Now, we're not going to touch on it as much today, but it also aids in immune function, obviously. That's why we're bringing it up. So, where can we find it? I love to get our nutrients from our food if possible. It is the most naturally available. It is the most readily available. Your body has been designed to digest it and to use it. So where do we get our most, right? Everyone thinks of oranges, but oranges are not the best source of vitamin C. Now, you get vitamin C with it, and it's not a terrible source, but there are better ones. Now, some of these may be surprising. Some of these are really, they'd be obvious for you. But citrus fruit in general, obviously, is one of those sources. But the big ones, yellow bell peppers. And what I found during my research is that the more you let the bell pepper become ripe, the more vitamin C it has. And so your nice ripe bell peppers, those are the bomb. They're going to be great for you. Cantaloupe, kiwi, kale, right? I know lots of people like to make green smoothies. Throw a little bit of kale in there. Great vitamin C, and broccoli. And so those are all things that you can find in just a standard grocery store, and they are going to be awesome for you. Now, what I found with vitamin C, when you're cooking these things, it's always better to eat them raw. And so smoothies, things like that are great. But if you're not going to eat them raw, you want to cook them with as little water as possible. Vitamin C is water soluble, so it will it'll dissolve into the water and you'll lose a lot of it. Now, what kind of dosages are we talking about? Now, the recommended daily dose for men is 90 milligrams. For women, it's 75. Now, what can we be taking? Now, what I found was you can safely take up to 500 milligrams a day on a consistent basis. Now, when that's going to be like regular supplementation, that's going to be not when you're sick, because you can go higher than that, and we'll talk about the safe limit for that. The only problem with vitamin C is when you're taking too much of it, you can cause some bowel issues, and you don't want any of that. It'll just be very uncomfortable. Now, what can we take? When we are sick, what can we be taking? We can take up to 2,000 milligrams a day. Now, I would recommend that you only do that 2,000 milligrams when you're really, really ill and you're going to do it for a short period of time. You don't want to be doing that for multiple days. You're going to end up making yourself sick, and you don't want that. But you can take up to 2,000 milligrams per day when you're ill. That's going to help support you the best. Just make sure that those levels are nice and high in your blood. The other big thing to remember about vitamin C, and another one that we're talking about, is they're not stored. They're water soluble, so they're not stored in your fat. So you need to be getting this stuff in your diet on an everyday basis. And if you're not getting it through your food on certain days, those are great days to be supplementing. Now, the next big one, vitamin D. Now, this one has been it's blown up over the last couple of years, really over like the last decade or two. But vitamin D is fantastic. It promotes calcium absorption, obviously really important for bones, reduces inflammation, helps with cell growth, and neuromuscular and immune health. Now, that's a big one. Neuromuscular, right? So the nervous system is part of that as well. And it's really, really important for all of that. Now, its role in immune health has been stated all over the place. I'm sure everyone that you know has talked about vitamin D. But we're going to talk about how much should we be taking. So with vitamin D, it is fat soluble. It does build up. So what we found for safe levels is anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 IUs a day. Now, some studies have lower amounts. Some of the more recent studies are showing that you actually may need a lot more than you think in order to get the levels up in your blood system. But this 2,000 to 10,000 range, or 1,000 to 10,000 range, is going to be really, really beneficial for just your everyday life. I take 5,000 whenever I'm supplementing. I'm not perfect, guys. No one is. Just do the best that you can when you can. But I like to supplement 5,000 when I am. But when I'm getting sick, I like to really bump that up pretty high. I like to go in there and hit it pretty hard. Now, there are a couple doctors that coined this term, the vitamin D hammer. I've heard colleagues talk about it. I've got a link. I'm going to add the link in the comments. But it talks about when you have the flu, hitting your body with a really, really, really large dose of vitamin D, and the results that they found during that process. I'll add that in the link. It's 50,000 IUs one time, and they found that it can shorten flu by a couple days. Now, outside of that, when I'm not feeling well, even if it's not necessarily the flu, I like to bump up to either that 10,000 mark, which is on that upper limit, or even 20,000 if I'm really feeling run down. You guys, you can find this stuff. It's super affordable. You can find it at pretty much any grocery store. You can find these supplements. Now, the last one that we're going to talk about is zinc. Now, oh wait, vitamin D. Where can you find it naturally? I almost forgot about that. Fatty fishes, trout, salmon, tuna, liver oils, and some versions of mushrooms. Now, the mushrooms, they vary in how much you get out of them, but they are a good source. Vitamin D is mostly synthesized from the sun. So even up to 35, 45 minutes a day is really, really great in order to get you some vitamin D production. Now, with vitamin D in the sun, anyone with darker pigmented skin, right, our African Americans, our Hispanic populations, obviously anyone like that, it is harder for you to synthesize vitamin D because your skin protects you from the sun, so you don't synthesize it as readily and as easily, making you more susceptible to being deficient. So make sure that you're really getting extra time in the sun, or that you're supplementing or getting it through your diet properly, because we really want those levels high. There's been a lot of research to show that these big 6 seasons come on the end of people being low in vitamin D. So back to zinc. Zinc. Now this one has a huge role in cell division, so cell proliferation, or what we would call cell growth, or healing, right? It's a healing process, or a growth process in general. But cell growth, wound healing, obviously, that's what the cell division does, is help with the wound healing. And it also helps you break down carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are really important for keeping your body full of energy and things like that. So that's just another perk that I threw in there. Zinc, where do we find it? Naturally, red meat, shellfish, legumes, seeds. Those are the easiest places to find it. You can also find the supplement anywhere. Just take that one according to the dosage on the bottle. That's really great. It's what we you don't need it in super huge amounts, so just follow that one on a consistent basis, and you'll be fine. Or if you're like me and you're a big red meat eater, then you're probably getting plenty of it. Just make sure that you keep that stuff in your diet regularly. Keep in mind, zinc also is not stored in the body, so we have to eat it on a regular basis in order to keep it up. Now, one of the other big ones, elderberry syrup, that I love. Obviously, we talked about it. High in vitamin C, high in antioxidants. I really love to get it local because they usually sweeten it with something. When you go into your CVS or your Walmart pharmacy and you get some of the other brands, they're thickened. They have stuff added to them to make them more syrupy and all that stuff. What I love about the locally sourced stuff is it's usually sweetened with local honey, right, which is great for our allergies and our immune systems as well. And so you get a little bit better tasting product, but you also get a more effective product. And we carry one in the office just because I love to use it. I keep it in my house every day. But you can get that from a couple different places. Just talk to people locally. I'm sure you can find someone that sells really awesome elderberry. It has been become really, really popular. Now, outside of this stuff, let's talk about chiropractic a little bit more. Obviously, these supplements are the big ones. Staying exercising, be outside in the fresh air, get moving, and then stay hydrated. Now, let's talk chiropractic care and its role. Now, like we talked about earlier, brain and your nervous system controlling your immune system. Now, what we focus on as chiropractors is making sure that that immune system is completely clear of interference due to external stressors, right? So our body is designed to function, to heal, to grow, to adapt, all of these good things. When we are being plagued by symptoms and more symptoms and more symptoms, that is just one sign that our system is really run down, that we aren't really taking care of it the way that we could be. And it's just a sign to get checked out. Now, if you're not having a lot of symptoms, we have ways to check out and make sure that your nervous system is as clear as it can be on a consistent basis before any of those signs show up. You know, we don't focus on the symptoms, on the pain, on the illness, on the ear infections, on the colic, or any of the things. We focus on how well that nervous system is functioning. And when it is low, we know that we need to get it free of interference, get it functioning the way it should be. So we use Insight scans inside of our office. This gives us the ability to really look inside of the nervous system and see if it's functioning as well as we think it is from the outside. Or sometimes, is it functioning as poorly as we think it might be from the outside? And it can surprise you either way a lot of times. But we are going to find that interference. We're trained to get in there to correct any of the interference and get that nervous system functioning again. Now, the importance of that in the immune system, and it's not just the immune system, it's the whole body, but the importance of the immune system is that you're going to have a nervous system that can guide that immune system the way that it needs to be in order to handle this constant onslaught of viruses and bacteria. Now, this is going to be year-round, but during this time where you do find more of your friends and your family and kiddos out and about and at school that are sick, that are sneezing and coughing and all this stuff, you're going to get more contact with viruses, so you want a better, stronger immune system. And so do these things, make sure that you're taking really good care of yourself and you're staying active and you're doing all the things that we talked about, and you're going to be just fine. And keep in mind, guys, that there are going to be times in your life when you're overwhelmed by stress. You got mental stressors, physical stressors, chemical stressors, and there's going to be times when those things overwhelm you and you find yourself ill. But what we need to remember and what we need to do is take this time to really remind ourselves to be jumping on top of these things that make us healthy, to find healthy outlets for your stress, to make sure that your nutrition's on point, that your hydration's on point, that you're exercising and taking care of yourself. And then go and find you an awesome kick butt chiropractor that is going to take care of you and your spouse and your kids and your grandkids and your grandparents and everyone else. And make sure that you guys are doing everything that you can during this time of year, during flu season. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you have any questions, throw those in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and add that link to the what they call the vitamin D hammer, those high dosages whenever you have the flu or when you're sick. I want to throw those in there so that you can see it if you want to go look at the study that was published. And it'll give you some information on how to do it. If you do have questions, throw them in the comments. I'd love to read them. I'll get back to you privately in a message and answer any question that you have. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it for you. Y'all have a very blessed evening. Enjoy your holidays. Go love up on your families for Christmas. And I'll see you as soon as I can. Bye.